We're there? All right. Good evening. Thank you for joining me this evening. Tonight I'm going to present information on some frequently asked questions about our reopening. If you have any questions, you may ask them in the chat function or email Ms. Felica or Mr. Seibert. I will address as many questions as I can at the end of the evening if we have time. If we do not answer them and run out of time, they will be in our frequently asked questions later this week. But before we begin, please join me in prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Gracious God, we come to you at the beginning of this academic year with our many feelings, expectations, fears, and hopes. Help us to remember, however, we have the comforting assurance from you that you will always be with us. This is a time of uncertainty and transition. We ask that you give us patience with ourselves and with one another as we work together to safely return to CCS. Although it will not look like we remember it, help us to see your presence among us. Help us to see the good in each day. Help us to find reasons to rejoice and be glad. It is in your name we pray. Amen. In the name of the Father, and Son, Holy Spirit. All right, I have some notes here that I'm going to keep referencing and looking down. I apologize for that, but here we go. So question number one I've been getting a lot of today is, do Albemarle County's decisions on the county or the schools affect us here at CCS? So unlike the end of last year where we were under the guidance of the Albemarle County Public School System, we are not this year. And so unless it is an executive order by the governor or the Office of Catholic Schools decides to change our status, we are not affected by the county or the county school system. A next major question is how Carline would work, and hopefully we'll be able to put up a few graphics about Carline. So as we normally would enter, we're going to do the same, and you're going to keep to the right. This year, however, we are going to ask you to So the same route, except adding the two lines. We're back. Okay, so we're adding the two lines in Carline.
No. All of the slideshow. Just restart from all of the
Oh, restart the whole Carline together. Here we go. All right, no slides? All right. We have slides. I'm talking over them. Sorry for that technical difficulty. Here we go. So we're looking at the second slide with middle school, and it'll help us out. And so you can see where middle school is highlighted. We're going to ask you to go all the way up to the turning circle at the top like we would in afternoon Carline, except leaving that break. The break is going to be because middle school families, if you're a middle school only, that's not true. All middle school families, will be dropping at the bottom, and the basketball court, the lower basketball court. If you have a younger child, you will then get into Carline. If middle school is your only child, you'll be driving down the middle. We will have a person stationed at the end to make sure it's safe, and you will drive out on the far side of the parking lot as you're coming in. And that is why we are asking that you stay very much to the right as you come in for Carline. If you look at the next slide, which has the elementary, You can see, again, that break. It's important to know and remember the break. As you come down, you'll see that we break into 2 lines this year. One on the left-hand side of the parking lot, one on the right. And we will have 4 stations on either side where we'll be checking the temperatures of the students. If you get the all clear, once all 4 stations get the all clear, you will be set to go and you will drive away and the next will pull in. If, however, your student or students in your car fail the temperature check, we'll be asking you to go into the turning circle to meet with Nurse Weber so that she can do a secondary check just to ensure that it wasn't user error the first time. She will make that final determination at that point on what happens, and I will get to that in just a minute on temperature checks. The last slide shows where we're entering the building. And so a little different and a little complicated, but pre-K, JK, will be entering the front door as most students normally would. Kindergarten and first grade will be entering from the end of their hallway outside the playground. Second and third grade are going to be entering what was the 3-5 hallway on where the playground is. We will have adults stationed out at those places to make sure that we are keeping our physical distancing as they enter those buildings. 4 and 5 will enter near the turning circle through the middle school hallway door. And so they're going to be coming down that hallway. And of course, as middle school was dropped below, 8th grade will come in right where the end of the STEM wing is. 7th grade, we're debating either coming in right outside of the performance space or around the back in through the doors that go up so that they can go to the gym. And then 6th grade will be entering the cafeteria door, unless there is inclement weather where we will have changes at that time. The last couple slides, the next slide shows some of our social distancing, physical distancing stickers. We have these throughout the school. We have direction arrows, as you can see, and these are going to help our students know where and how to move throughout the building. But of course, the adults are going to be there to help them with this. It's new for most of us, and we will get through that. The last picture on the slideshow is just a general classroom. As you know, we have put out that we are going to have 12 desks, no more than 12 desks, in a classroom as we split them around, unless you're into the middle school. And I'll get to the classrooms in a few minutes as I have kind of these things in sequential order. And so let's go to the temperature check. So what happens if my child has an above 100.4 temperature? Again, we're checked every morning. If they register higher, again, you'll go to Nurse Weber and she'll make a final decision. If you do not pass that temperature check, you may not return until fever-free without medication for 72 hours. We'll work with you on that, but that is going to be our standard. The staff is doing the same thing every morning. They will be checked. If they do not pass, they will be sent home as well. And next would be the COVID symptoms. What happens if my child has COVID-19-like symptoms? Again, if you're hopping out at Carline and one of the adults there seems to think that there's maybe a dry cough, maybe the fever was there, any of the symptoms that are linked to COVID-19, we will ask you to go over to Nurse Weber and she will make a final determination. If she deems you cannot enter the building, then there may be a bunch of different options here. There is the fever-free without medication for 72 hours. There may be a quarantine for 10 days based on the start of the symptoms. There may be a quarantine for 14 days. We're going to be working with you and your families and hopefully your local doctors to make the best determination to keep all of us safe during this time. I've talked about how they'll enter the building. So what do classrooms look like? That last picture we saw a few minutes ago showed that. So junior kindergarten is going to have no more than 16. We will be split across 2 classrooms. Kindergarten will have no more than 26 this year, 13 in a classroom. And as we move to 1 through 5, we are accepting 36 students in each of those grades, putting them in groups of 12 in 3 different classrooms. We are hiring teaching assistants to work with our 2 lead teachers as they work with all 36 students. 6 will have 40 students and will be in the cafeteria. 7th, our largest class, which has been for a number of years, will have 45 and they will be in the gym. And 8th grade will take no more than 40, but they will be split between the STEM lab and the middle school science lab upstairs. We will have strict seating charts, and we're doing this for contact tracing, and we are trying to keep students from cross-contaminating one another. And so that is kind of how classes will look for now. Teachers will have plenty of space to be able to work with the students. Another frequently asked question is, what are the rules for face coverings? And so as we've sent before, JK through 3 must bring a face covering with them to school. We're asking them to wear them in communal areas such as hallways, restroom breaks. And if a teacher goes to speak to them, the teacher is able to require them to put that on. While they're sitting at their desks, 6 feet social distanced, they are not required. And as we get outside for extra recess time, fresh air time, the teachers will know to help physically distance those students, and they will be able to take them off that time as well. 4 through 8, they are also wearing them as they travel the hallway, as they come into the building, in the communal areas. But again, at their desks, 6 feet physically distanced, they are able, if they wish, to take that off. Again, if a teacher asks them to put that on, it is required of them to do so. One important point here is that if a teacher asks and a child refuses, we are not asking our teachers or mandating that our teachers go and speak to that student until they put that mask on. Of course, we will follow that up with a phone call or an email to you in the evening to explain what happened and why we are doing that. But again, safety precautions for our staff as well. One of the largest questions, and it is a little complex, is what happens if there's a positive COVID-19 test? And so really every scenario is different. I have been and meet with the local health district once a week. They have several guidelines, and the Thomas Jefferson Area Health District will be carrying out all contact tracing. What's very important is if there's a positive test either of your student, yourself, a family member, a staff member, is to inform the school as well as the health district so that they can begin that contact tracing. It is not determined that a school will have to quarantine the entire school if we have one positive test in an area. It may be that it is just the student or teacher. It may be that it is a small group of students, maybe one of those clustered classes that we had when we were splitting into 12. But what we're hopeful is that we will stay away and avoid that quarantining of an entire group. Again, it is a little different for each kind of grouping, but the Thomas Jefferson Health District and I are working together, and we will be able to help navigate through this should that be a factor. Another big question is, what is synchronous learning going to look like? I believe it was last Tuesday we sent out an overview of our synchronous learning plan. Students are going to be expected to act as if they were in school. If morning prayer is at 8:05, students should be logged in, ready to go, in their uniform for class, for prayer, for the Pledge of Allegiance, for opening direct instruction. A schedule will be sent so that students that are in synchronous learning can join at those direct instruction times, but will have the ability to log off of their screen during independent work times. During those independent work times, however, there may be opportunities to work one-on-one with your teacher in the classroom as they are also working with students. They may have time at that moment to work with your student at home. We will have someone monitoring them on Google Meet in the classroom so that if there is a question or if they have something to add to the discussion, the teacher can be alerted and bring them in. We're going to do our very best for our synchronous learning students to feel like they are part of the classroom at all times. Am I able to switch between in-person and synchronous learning? The answer is yes. The seat that we have sold in your grade, those 36 seats, we are giving to you, and so therefore we're not going to give it to someone else if you've chosen synchronous learning. And so let's say it's 9 weeks down the road and you now feel comfortable to not use synchronous learning and you want to send your child in, that seat will be there. We did send a survey home just yesterday that we were asking that all families fill out that give us an initial indication on synchronous or in-person teaching. This is very helpful for us in our classrooms as we know the number of synchronous students. We can spread out the desks of in-person students a little further, and again, all with personal safety in mind. That being said, again, if you choose to come to school, the desk will be there for your student. Another question that I have received a few of is, will there be homework? Yes, we will have homework. We are going to ease into that as we start the year. It's been a while since we've been in school, but we will have homework, and it's all dependent on their grade level. For example, our high school credit classes in middle school will have a rigorous homework to meet the need of that rigorous class, whereas our kindergarten students probably will have no homework to start as they are just learning their way on social interaction in the building. The last question that I have a lot of was uniform. And yes, we are requiring uniforms, but we're going to go with summer uniforms only to start. So summer uniform is the polo and the shorts. The girls can wear their skirts or their jumpers in the lower grades. We are allowing that for the time being. One thing that's important for us that we've shared and that I want to share now is that we are taking these policies and procedures a month at a time. This first set, we're going to do it 6 weeks, the 2 weeks in August and the 4 weeks in September. And as we get near to the end of that time frame, reevaluate our plans to see what is working, what may need to be changed. Obviously, what isn't working, we will try and take care of. And so for those first 6 weeks, we are in summer uniform. We do have a plan to have Mass. Mass will not require formal uniform. We will have one group of students at a time in the chapel. The rest of it will be broadcast to the students in their classrooms where they will participate in Mass as if they were there. And we will be able to get the Eucharist to the students after Mass is over for those who are unable to attend. Those are the majority of the frequently asked questions. I do think I saw some questions that may have come in that Ms. Felica or Mr. Seibert is going to shoot me, and then I'll be able to answer those. Here we go. So Carline questioned 2 lines and the students exiting the building in the same fashion. The honest answer to exiting the building is we haven't finished out that plan yet. We are still working on dismissal policies. 2 lines may be what it is, but again, we will have safety officers. One thing that will look very different, it will be all adults. We will not be opening your doors as we have in the past. Your children will have to open their own doors and get out and come to a spot where we will take their temperature. If we are doing 2 lines in the afternoon, it would be the same kind of idea. We'd have an adult at the top who would allow those kids to use the crosswalk and then get in their cars. We will be very safe with the procedures for Carline. Can I confirm that my children will be taught by an actual teacher and not a teacher assistant? Of course. What we're doing is we're having that assistant be there to help monitor the students in that group C. So if we take 5th grade, 5A, 5B, 5C, in 5C, a teaching assistant may be there to help monitor those students. The synchronous learning allows us, if the teacher was teaching math, could potentially teach to all students through the Promethean board, through synchronous learning. The assistant is there to help monitor those students, ask questions. The teachers are rotating through the building throughout the day. The students are not. And so in that 5A, B, C scenario, the 2 teachers will be rotating through, and the assistant is there as an assistant, not as a teacher. Can students be grouped together in quarantine families? We are asking about carpools and how carpools have been done. We did not ask that question about quarantine families. However, if you have been with a family and you have decided that over the summer this is the group that you have quarantined with, please shoot us an email and we will work to make those seating charts appropriately. Although, that being said, we can't guarantee seating charts at this time. So the face covering rule being violated. We're working with children, and we're going to do our very best to be compassionate and care for them. We will give them warnings at an age-appropriate level. Of course, my warning to a 5-year-old and my warning to a 13-year-old are going to be different. But we are going to work with them. If it is a continued problem, even working with them, we will talk to the parents, we will have a conference, and we will get that situation under wraps. So face masks at their seats, face coverings at their seats. None of our students, once in their seats at their seating chart, need to wear their masks. We are physically distanced at more than 6 feet. It is compliant with our CDC rules and the guidelines in which we turned in for our health mitigation plan to both the Thomas Jefferson Health District and the Virginia Council for Private Education. More than likely, the plan will be wait till the students are in all to their seats, Then their mask will come off, so they'll have that short period in the morning. And again, if a teacher approaches them and requires, they will have to put it back on. But while they're at their desks, physically distanced, students are able, if they feel comfortable, to take their face covering off. The gym. Great question. We have worked in the gym. We have put the art boards that are the cork board in the back. We are draping the side to help dampen the sound. And our teachers will actually be mic'd and using the speakers in the gym to help that sound travel. In middle school, for this first 6 weeks, we are going with whole group instruction to start the year. While not ideal, it is the best we can do in order to facilitate having everybody here who wishes to come. Our teachers have been working on it. They've known about this plan for the entire summer. Our math teachers have come up with a wonderful plan. History is ready to go. Our middle school teachers have been working diligently again to make this work, and we are not worried. However, if we get to where we feel like the sound isn't working, we will find a way to fix that problem. Who will teach the synchronous learning classes? The teacher will always teach the synchronous learning classes. Again, the assistant is just there to help the students monitor a classroom of 12 while the other two teachers are with the other two classrooms of 12. How many teachers are in the gym? There will be at least 2 teachers at all times with the middle schoolers. We are going to change our schedule to a block schedule. And so therefore, we're teaching as a whole group. It affords us to have the opportunity for 2 teachers to be in with the students. And so we are going to be working on making sure that the teaching, the behavior is up to the same standard you are used to here at CCS. Will there be a monitor wherein the class can see the virtual students, where the teacher can also see the online students? Yes, we are working on making sure that we have an online monitor. Just as you would assign tasks like line leader or line leader, door holder, we are going to assign a monitor of the children as well. It is a job that a student can help. The teacher will have access to be able to see, but if the teacher has moved away from their laptop as they are teaching in front of the class, they're going to need someone to be able to say, Mr. Riley, Johnny has a question as well. And so then the teacher can address Johnny, who is synchronously learning. And so we will have that for you. There was a question about Mass for the public. No, Mass is not open for the public. As a matter of fact, Mass is going to be limited. Our chapel on physically distanced can only seat 30 people at a time. We've worked out a schedule to where we will start with 8th grade and work our way down all the way to 2nd grade is how far we've gone, and that's going to take about 15 school weeks before we get to 1st grade and cycle back up. So no, at this time, Mass is not open to the public. Aftercare is something that we are also, the question was, where is aftercare pickup? It is something that we are working on. Right now, as it looks, aftercare is going to be in the gym, and as we bring students in, it'll be cleaned after the day of 7th grade. Then they will be brought down, and they will be brought down from 8th grade all the way down to kindergarten and sat socially distanced in the groupings that they had during the day so that they are there and still not cross-contaminating. The pickup is most likely then going to be the 2 doors by the chapel outside of the gym. Is there a % positive number in the Thomas Jefferson Health District that would be too high and you would have to switch to everyone synchronous? So again, that determination comes from both Governor Northam, if he decides to move the state as an executive order back to phase 2, or if the Office of Catholic Schools determines that the risk is too high and they require us to go synchronous. At this time, the health district cannot shut the school down, but they can make recommendations to us, which of course I'll be working again with the health district, the VCPE, and of course Office of Catholic Schools throughout the entire process. Air quality control in the classrooms. So yes, we have bought some HEPA filters for inside the classrooms. Our HVAC system actually cannot handle HEPA filters. If we use them in our HVAC system, we would actually diminish the air quality and the airflow in the building. And so each classroom will have a HEPA filter in it. Excuse me. It will be monitored and it will be cleaned regularly and changed out as necessary. We also will have windows open where available. And again, when students can get outside, we are taking them outside to be able to move that air around. How might a school day shift for increased outdoor time? We are working on increased outdoor time. We're trying to finalize a schedule now. I can say that we are working on having 2, if not 3 recess times scheduled with the cohort that you're with outside. And so we aren't going to mix 5A, 5B, 5C together. 5th grade may have recess together, but 5A may be on the soccer field while 5B is on the mulch and 5C went down to the lower court to get exercise and fresh air. And within the block schedule, will they have every class every day? No, they will not have every class every day in a block schedule. It is an A-B format where Friday switches from A on week 1 to B on week 2. And again, this is for our first 6 weeks in order to get everybody into the building safely. If that can change, we will go back to the format that we had, but for now, that is what we're going with. And finally, if a child's sibling or parent becomes COVID positive, I assume the CCS siblings are expected to switch to synchronous learning, correct? Again, that's a determination based on the health district, and it's a little complicated. If you cannot isolate at home, if you are a parent who is tested positive and are unable to isolate from your child in your own home, then yes, the health district will contact trace and will recommend that you go to synchronous learning. If you are able to isolate, the health district will then make a recommendation on if they believe quarantine is necessary. Again, the health district and I will work hand in hand for each case that may or may not come through, and we will make those determinations and change as necessary. Will there be outside time during aftercare? The truth to that answer is I am not positive of that yet. To start, I would have to say we are probably going to tiptoe into that and maybe not have outside time at first, just so that we aren't cross-contaminating the students that we've worked so hard to make sure that we are keeping separated throughout the day. Do we plan on offering algebra to 7th graders? Yes. Our math program in the middle school is not changing, and again, both Mrs. Devane and Mr. Garland have been working together and have formulated a plan that both Ms. Fleek and I feel will be able to meet the needs of those students at their various levels, even all together in the same room. And it looks like maybe I did get to all the questions. Excuse me. Again, thank you all for joining. Oh, wait, one more. 1 second, he's typing it into me. Had any thought been given to decreasing the length of the day since specials won't be happening? Specials actually will be happening. The specials teachers will be traveling to those classrooms and be offering what they can in the capacities that they're able. PE, we are planning on having outside PE. We have reached out and we have hired a PE teacher as of this morning. He has experience in Catholic schools, and he has worked out that a lot of physical fitness to start the year mixed with some health education in an outside area is where we're going to start. Art, music, library will be going to the classrooms in order to deliver specials. Our school day, as you remember, we are part of the Diocese of Richmond, and so the 5 days a week at our normal hours, that is what all schools of the diocese are doing. Will parents be notified if there's a COVID positive student faculty member? Will we be told which grade or just that it's in the community? That's a great question, and it comes down to a lot of things. First and foremost, it comes down to making sure that you as parents are being transparent and letting the school know each and every time so that we can keep everyone safe. It also comes down to you as parents giving permission for the school to talk to the health district and for the health district to be able to talk to the school. If permission is not given, the school itself will only even be told that there is a person in the community who tested positive. So that relationship and that letting the health district know if you've been contacted, that of course they can speak to the school, is going to be vital for us to be able to share information with families and the community as it goes. However, that being said, individual names can't be shared as it's a HIPAA violation of their personal medical record. And so we will do our best to protect that name and those people, if that should occur, whether it's a staff member or student. but we also want to make sure that parents are aware and they can make the best choice for their families on whether they want to switch to synchronous learning or if want to continue to come in person. Got lost. Are synchronous learners in a grade level going to be grouped together or mixed with the in-person learners? It's a fabulous question that I'm not sure I have the answer to. Right now, as we're getting survey results, we are making seating charts. We do have them dispersed throughout A, B, and C so that they have access in different places just as the students were. But that is something for Mrs. Fleek and I to think about and discuss and work with Mr. Seibert to see, is there a benefit to having all synchronous learners together or keeping them in the pods A, B, and C like we would here? And as I say that out loud, instantly I realized that A, B, and C probably would need to be the choice, simply because if you decide to come back to in-person, we would have to be able to put you into those classrooms of 12, and I couldn't have, let's say there was 5 of you out in one room, it would disproportionate the kids inside the building, and so thinking that through, we will probably disperse them in the A, B, C format. The school supply lists box to store your items. Pencil box. That should have been referred to as a pencil box and not a box to sit on the floor where your students' materials will go. We'll work on trying to correct those on Parents Web. Fax Family Online, I apologize. Can we do half day in school and half synchronized? We haven't worked that out, but that seems a little difficult in my mind on its face. I'm sure there are some ways that maybe that could take place, but the reality is that even if you chose synchronous or in person and you are wanting to make a change, we're going to need to be notified as soon as possible so that we can make a difference. I do know that other schools within the diocese and some even locally that are saying giving this hybrid option, they're requiring you to make a choice of a full 9 weeks before you're allowed to make a secondary choice. We're trying to be more flexible than that. I do think, though, that half day may be pushing a limit of our flexibility, just given even fire drills, even anything that takes place where we need to know where the students are, that could get a little complicated. Are students going to eat in the classroom? Yes, students are eating in the classroom. We have worked with nurses, both Nurse Weber and we have a nurse on our COVID response team to open the building. We have determined that at the 6-foot distance that peanut butter will be allowed in the classrooms, but we are going to know who our children who have allergies are, and we are going to do our best to make sure that who is sitting around them, what is being eaten. Teachers will know, and we will be able to keep an eye on that. All classrooms in kindergarten through, 3rd grade at this moment have sinks in their classrooms. 4th and 5th, we are working on how to deal with hand washing in the restrooms and making sure that it's rotated appropriately. And then, of course, middle school are in their areas. The 8th grade has plenty of sinks. 7th grade has restrooms that will be dedicated off the gym. And, of course, down into the cafeteria, we have restrooms and the locker rooms, which also have sinks that will be utilized. I think I've lost my spot. What measures are taken for extra cleaning, especially within the bathrooms? We do have, working with our cleaners, we will have a detailed, deep cleaning on the Friday before the students return. And then we have some increased cleaning and increased sanitizing that is going to be taking place on all surfaces. Throughout the day in the building, we do have maintenance staff here. We are going to be going in periodically throughout the day with a fogging machine that is a sanitizer that is quick dry so that they can go in, fog the bathroom, walk out, it quick dries, and it is safe again for the students to return. Answered that one already. Again, the Thomas Health, this question, I'm sorry, I was supposed to read those out loud. There was a question about the turnaround time on testing and will it affect Thomas Jefferson Health District and decisions being made at the school. The health district is on running the point on all contact tracing and working with us on those testings. If, however, you had a test that came positive and you could contact us before the health district, please, we implore you to do so. It is an utmost importance that, again, parents are transparent with us about their students and about their families and about their health so that we can keep as many of us away or safe as possible. And so we ask that of you at all things. And this isn't just COVID illness. This is not a year to be able to send our students in with a slight fever on Motrin when they may have strep or they may have the flu or they have the stomach bug. We do not want any of those illnesses to start running rampant throughout our building. How will physical distance precautions be maintained during all safety drills? At the beginning of the year, it's been advised not to run safety drills, such as a fire drill. And so for the first 6 weeks, we are not going to have that initial fire drill. We will talk through those plans with our students in the case of an actual emergency so that we know how to get out of the building safely. But for a drill purpose, we are not doing those for the first 6 weeks. There will be hand sanitizer. We have bought, the sanitizer is here. The delivery mechanism is on back order, and we are hopeful that they will be here before the start of school. There will be there for classrooms. Again, for our students who are going to be in kindergarten through third grade, we actually have sinks with soap and water that we'll be utilizing more than hand sanitizer, as well as junior kindergarten. But through grades 4th and 5th, who are now in the middle school hallway, and our middle schoolers, we have purchased hand sanitizing machines, and we are hopeful that they will be here in time. The plastic divider information that we released and sent. So on our task force, there was a member who contacted High Tech Signs and got a price quote for what looks like a plexiglass divider that you can put around your desk. They are not mandatory by any stretch, nor will the school be providing them. It was just simply some information for any parent who felt like they may wish to purchase one and have it for their student at their desk. That is going to be possible as our seating charts are going to be fairly rigid. What would need to happen is you would need to purchase it and bring it to the school, and then we will have to set it up for you, which we are more than willing to do. And how will students collect online work? So we're going to be utilizing two systems. One, Seesaw, which was utilized by our first grade teachers in the past, and then Google Classroom. Seesaw is an interactive program where we're going to be teaching the students how to use them, and if they've had first or second grade over the last few years, they've used it here in the building. And our students, your children, they're able to do this easier than you may think. And then Google Classroom, we are taking trainings in grades 3 through 5 on how to utilize that. Our middle school teachers have been utilizing Google Classroom for a number of years. And so digital work will be able to be turned in. Will students be using lockers? No. For now, again, starting in the 6-week period, we are not going to be using lockers. Students will be taking their belongings with them to their designated classroom and keeping them there with them. Separation anxiety for younger students. We have thought about this, and we do understand that. And so it's going to be up to each teacher's comfort level. Of course, Ms. Valika's comfort level with giving hugs is extremely high. And what will happen is if we have a student who's crying, we are going to care for them. We're not going to put them at a physical distance desk and let them sit there and cry. We will be there for your students. We will take care of them as you come to expect and know from Charlottesville Catholic School. With no balls and distancing, what games playing with kids do at recess and PE? For now, again, PE, he's working on a lot of physical fitness, calisthenics, just accurate how to do a plank, for example. At recess, we're working on some Simon Says, we're working on hopscotch, we're working on maybe providing enough basketball since we are small, and maybe doing horse, where each child only touches their own ball, and then we can sanitize those balls after. We are working on plans for that, and again, we ask that you give us our first 6 weeks to get into the building safely before we start transitioning to the next step. If in those 6 weeks we realize that we can move on to that next step and bring recess equipment back out, we will. We really want to make sure that our physical distancing and all the safety precautions that we can allow us to stay in the building healthy and safe. And then last question that has popped up is sixth grade. Sixth grade is also not separated. They are all together, and we will be doing one whole group lesson. Again, our two math teachers have come up with a wonderful plan that I stand behind for how to teach math to 3 levels together. And we do think that for these first 6 weeks, we can pull this off and still keep the rigor and the expectations of academics that you have for CCS. So now I think we're good at this point. I want to thank all of you that joined us. If you do have further questions, if you're sitting at home thinking, please email them in, either Ms. Felica, Mr. Seibert, or myself. We will be releasing a frequently asked questions document sometime in the next 48 hours, gathering information we've sent already, as well as questions that came today. We are so looking forward to seeing you all again, and we are doing so in such a safe and structured manner. And I cannot tell you, again, on behalf of the entire faculty and staff, just how excited we are to see your children once again.